Stories on WION Speed News. Afghanistan was rocked by two major blasts yesterday. The combined death toll stood at 48. One of the blasts happened near the U.S. Embassy in the capital city of Kabul. A separate incident, an explosion occurred at an election rally in Charikar. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani was in attendance at the rally. The Taliban has claimed responsibility for the attacks. The group has repeatedly talked of intensifying clashes in a bid to dissuade people from voting in the elections scheduled for September 28th. Rescue ship picked up 109 people from two flimsy boats off the coast of Libya within hours of each other on Tuesday. The crew of the humanitarian rescue ship spotted a small wooden boat with 48 people on board. Among the passengers were 5 women and 9 children. In less than 2 hours, a spotter plane alerted them to a second boat with a total of 61 people on board. At least 4 people died after a boat capsized in a storm off the coast of tiny island near Senegal's capital. Dakar's fire brigade chief said 35 people were rescued from the boat. This included 24 Senegalese, 6 French, 2 Germans, 2 Swedes and 1 other national. All those rescued were taken to the hospital. It's not yet clear all the people have been accounted for in the incident. Results for the first round of votes in Tunisia's presidential elections are out. In fact, Kais Saied and Nabil Karawé have won the most votes and will advance to a runoff vote. Saied took 18.4% of the votes and Karawé 15.6% of the total votes. Announcement by the Independent Electoral Commission confirmed the exit polls released on Sunday and partial results issued throughout Monday. The vote is being seen as a sharp rebuke of the established political forces that have dominated since the 2011 revolution. Honduran villagers are now protesting against the construction of a housing complex in La Tigra National Park. The park is one of the main water sources for the capital. Protesters were seen clashing with the riot police as the violent clashes broke out. Police also used tear gas as the protesters pelted stones. Protests erupted in the Haitian capital recently amid widespread discontent over an ongoing fuel crisis. Demonstrators marched in the streets of Port-au-Prince and set tires on fire as police and riot gear attempted to quell rising tensions. Some Haitians waited in long lines at gas stations and complained about the increase in prices. The protests are linked to a fuel shortage which has deepened over suppliers' refusal to deliver petroleum products. Family members of the firefighters who lost their lives battling the forest fires laid them to rest at funerals in Bolivia's Santa Cruz. Some 2,000 firefighters have been mobilized to battle against the raging wildfires across the country. A 747 super tanker could be seen flying over the dry hills near the Tarija dousing fires with thousands of gallons of water. At least 1 million hectares have been impacted by the raging fires.
Pérdida de estos 3 voluntarios al San Ignacio de Velasco, donde fue recibido con honores junto a autoridades y pobladores.
Indonesia's President Joko Widodo visited one of the burnt forests in Sumatra's province where artificial rain had been dumped to put out the fires. Following the visit, Widodo held a meeting to discuss the situation. He said that Indonesia had all the resources for prevention of the noxious haze, but they were not activated properly. Widodo called upon all concerned parties to come together to handle the fires. Neighboring nations of Malaysia and Singapore have expressed their displeasure. to Widodo over the toxic smog spreading to their countries. President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, began his first official visit to Belgium on Tuesday. Prime Minister Charles Michel welcomed him at a red carpet ceremony in Brussels, and the two leaders inspected a guard of honor. Later in the day, they met Belgium's king for lunch. Opponents of Tshisekedi held a small protest outside the Egmont Palace, where Michel and Tshisekedi held talks. French President Emmanuel Macron received Luxembourg Prime Minister Xavier Bettel in Paris on Tuesday. The two leaders discussed the ongoing Brexit play as well as bilateral ties. The meeting came a day after British Prime Minister Boris Johnson pulled out of a planned news conference in Luxembourg, leaving him, in fact, and Bettel on his own to answer reporters' questions. Mexican authorities identified at least 29 people in 119 bags with human remains in the western state of Jalisco, Mexico. The bodies have been found dumped in a well. The pit was first located in early September when residents reported odor around the rural site. Jalisco is the heartland of one of Mexico's most violent drug gangs, and this is the second major find of bodies in the state this year. Teen climate activist Greta Thunberg meets former U.S. President Barack Obama in Washington, D.C. Obama tells a Swedish teenager that she's changing the world. This is part of Thunberg's visit to the U.S. to address environmental issues. Thunberg rose to fame by staging weekly sit-ins outside the Swedish parliament, spawning a movement of youth climate activists to hold their own protest in more than 100 cities worldwide. Tropical storm IMELDA recently made landfall in Texas. It could, in fact, give Houston area its heaviest rainfall from one storm since Hurricane Harvey. However, the storm has, in fact, weakened into a tropical depression now. The depression was located about 5 miles north of Houston, Texas, packing maximum sustained winds of 35 miles per hour. Chile is currently hit by a drought that has affected over 70% of the country, according to the country's climate change office. The previous decade has been the driest on record. According to the resources, this is because of one of the lowest rainfalls this year. This has dried up the town's reservoir even before summer. An American cancer survivor has succeeded in a remarkable quest to swim across the English Channel 4 times in a row. Sarah Thomas, a Colorado resident, completed the feat on Tuesday after more than 54 hours of swimming. A 37-year-old completed a treatment for breast cancer last year. She was cheered by a small crowd as she arrived in Dover and was given champagne and chocolate to celebrate. She dedicated her feat to all her fellow cancer survivors. Previously, 4 swimmers had crossed the water between England and France 3 times without stopping. A tower in New York City will be the world's tallest residential building when it opens next year. However, this building will be competing with other ultra-luxury buildings for billionaire buyers. Extel Development President Gary Barnett said that the 1,550-foot Central Park Tower, worth $3 billion, is entering an oversupplied market. He said that Extel and its partners will have to be flexible in selling the building's multi-million-dollar apartments. Drone footage emerged of a large shark swimming very near a surfer off a very beach in South Wales, Australia. The surfer is seen turning his boat to make for the shore as the shark gets closer. The surfer heard an alert message from the drone operator blaring out "Shark, shark, shark. Evacuate the water immediately." The drone operator, who was patrolling the area as part of the volunteer search and rescue service, estimated that the shark was 3 to 4 meters in length and either a bronze whaler or a young great white. A captive giant panda has given birth to a pair of twins in southwest China's Sichuan province. This makes her the second giant panda to successfully deliver cubs after mating in the wild. The 10-year-old female panda was earlier rescued from the wild. The birth of the two baby pandas was welcomed by various experts, calling it a great achievement in panda conservation. Restoration experts examined damage to New York's Charging Bull statue after the iconic attraction was attacked with a banjo. Police say a Texas man bashed the statue with a metal object and damaged one of its horns. The attack left the statue with a hole in its right horn. 7,100-pound bull was created by Italian-born artist in 1989 and installed in Lower Manhattan as a work of guerrilla art. Construction of the race track hosting of the bobsleigh, skeleton and events at the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics Games has been completed. The track is a first of its kind in the world to span 360 degrees. Athletes will compete for 10 gold medals in these events. Sunshade, ice making system, monitoring system and other subsidiary facilities have also been constructed. A Chilean startup has been launched to open up some of the world's most iconic tourist attractions to disabled visitors. The idea for the world was born out of an expedition 3 years ago to Chile's Torres del Paine National Park in Patagonia by a group of friends from the University of California. Now, the group crowdfunded a special wheelchair for their friend who was left quadriplegic following a car accident when he was 18. They documented their trip for those who had contributed to the fund and, spurred by the ensuing interest, began investigating other bucket list vacations that could be adapted for the disabled. Russian 10-year-old skateboarder Maxim Abramov recently woke up to find thousands of new followers on his Instagram and dozens of personal messages from people across the globe. This after a video of him was reposted by skateboarding legend Tony Hawk on September 12th. Hawk shared a video of Maxim filmed by his coach with his 4.6 million followers, calling the boy his new favorite skater. Max lost both his legs when his bed caught fire when he was just 18 months old. The tragic incident was widely reported when it happened in 2011. Max now aspires to become a professional skateboarder.